Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. I'm Jenny Taft with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. I missed you guys last week. How are you doing today?
Doing great. You know, I was up in Nantucket. You know, Nantucket Ned myself. Me and Skip have been good old time up in Nantucket.
You and Coach Belichick up there?
Nah. We on different sides.
Hanging out? You trying to talk him into maybe you need a new quarterback?
Yeah. He listened to me. Yeah.
You know, I missed you. Not really. How are you?
You good?
Yeah.
A belated happy birthday.
Thank you.
To Shannon as well. I hope you enjoyed your time in Nantucket. Must have been nice. And as you guys mentioned, Patriots have a new quarterback. The Cam Newton watch is finally over. The former MVP and #1 overall pick has agreed to a 1-year contract with the Patriots that is low risk and high reward for New England. Cam reportedly passed his physical and is cleared to play after recovering from foot and shoulder injuries. The veteran QB is also reportedly, quote, hungrier than ever. So, Shannon, are you surprised that he signed with the Pats?
I'm really not, Skip. I think the biggest thing was during this pandemic was being able to get physically there so their doctors can prod and poke and see how healthy are these shoulders. Let me take a look at that foot. And I think that's the biggest thing, Skip, dealing with someone like Cam Newton, is because you know the talent. He was a former MVP. He was Rookie of the Year. He's been to the Pro Bowl. He's been All-Pro. You know the talent is there. But how healthy is Cam? And I think over the last several years, Cam has been injured. As you mentioned before, he's died on the cross for the cause of the Carolina Panthers. And it hurt him because when you go out there, Skip, people don't care what it took for you to get out there. All they see is one. They see Newton on the back, and they expect those Superman-ish type plays. Mm-hmm. Well, he hasn't been able to give them to them for a while for the simple fact I believe he's injured. I believe this works out really well for both sides. Skip, it's hard for me to see a scenario that once Cam get caught up to speed, that he does not beat Jared Stidham out for this job. I believe he's the better talent, the better arm talent, the better physical talent, and it's just a matter of getting caught up to speed. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize that once you know the system, because you got to realize, Skip, there was no minicamp. There were no OTAs for Cam to get an opportunity to hear the verbiage and to run those plays over and over. So basically, there's still 2.5 months, I think, 2.5 months before the season starts. And so that gives him an opportunity to get caught up once camp starts. But he is motivated. Skip, it hurts. Trust me. I've been a guy that's been released or the Broncos didn't want to sign me, and I wanted to show them I still have something left. Talk to Peyton Manning about being released by the Colts and see the motivation that he wanted to show that he still had something left. And if you remember, Skip, when they released Cam, he put out, I think it was on IG, mm-hmm. They gave up on me. So he's going to be highly motivated. And if he's healthy, Skip, I don't see a scenario in which he's not the starting quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to start week 1, but once he's up to speed, I believe that talent and his ability to and learn this offense is that once these two things mesh, Cam will be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots.
So I did tell you that he died for the cause in Carolina. I did not say he died on the cross because I will go Superman. I will not go Jesus.
Yeah,
not quite yet.
Cause,
but I'll give you Superman.
Yes.
Although I'm not sure we will ever quite see 2015 Cam again because he died for their cause.
Correct.
The stat is that since 2011, his first year in the league, no quarterback has taken more hits, and that's like an obvious stat, but he's just run away with most hits taken over the last, 9 years?
9 years, yeah.
Of any quarterback in the National Football League, because obviously there were days when he was taking on linebackers and strong safeties, and he wound up with a bum shoulder, surgery for that, and then the surgery on the foot. And I'm not sure how right he is right now. And I'm not sure they've been able to give him a complete, we will pass you kind of physical. So we got to wait to hear exactly about that. But I'm going to assume that Bill Belichick would know pretty much that he would be a 99% pass on a physical, to your point. Okay, so what do I think of this overall move? I thought it was finally a very good move by Bill Belichick. But I still don't think they will be a very good team. I don't know how much you have changed in your total view of the Patriots, but we have a bet dangling by a thread right now.
I feel better
we
about
have
that.
5 cases bet that Tom Brady's record next year will be better than Bill Belichick's record. Bill just helped his cause a whole lot. In fact, I'm going to give you 5 games. I'm going to say he improved by 5 games. But I thought they were looking at 4 and 12 with Stiddy as the quarterback, or as Belichick calls him, Stid. What? You're going to throw that poor kid who struggled in his final year at Auburn, did not obviously start last year because Tom Brady, the GOAT, was still there. You're going to throw him into Tom Brady's winged cleats up in Foxborough in the first game he's ever started in the National Football League and say, go for it, kid. I mean, has there ever been worse pressure, especially on an unproven kid, than would be on Jared Stidham?
Right.
So I will give you this, that Cam is the perfect possible replacement for Tom Brady because, listen, Cam Newton will not be afraid of that challenge.
Correct.
There are only a handful of quarterbacks who could step into those shoes in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and be okay with the pressure of it. And I'm talking about Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and maybe Patrick Mahomes now, and maybe Russell Wilson, maybe.
Yeah, because the thing is, Skip, when you step in those shoes, you need to be accomplished something in your own right.
You have to.
All the guys you mentioned have accomplished something in their own right. Super Bowls, MVPs, Offensive Players of the Years.
And Cam had one hellacious great year. He had an MVP, and he took a 15-1 team to the Super Bowl. He did not play well in the Super Bowl, but neither did Peyton Manning. He outplayed Peyton in that game. It was a defensive game from start to finish. And the Broncos' defense was hellacious great. And it was all over Cam. I didn't mind how he handled himself after the game because show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. But the point is, he did not distinguish himself that day. And ever since, he's not been that 2015 guy. In fact, if you look at his numbers over the last 4 years, his grand total passing percentage, completion percentage is 60%. That ranks 44th among qualified quarterbacks. He's averaged 229 yards passing over the last 4 years, injury-plagued years. That ranks 34th of qualified quarterbacks. So, and again, his QBR 0 to 100 is the scale. He had an average of 44. So he's been below average, certainly by the MVP standard that he set over the last 4 years. But now we get to how much better can he make the Patriots? Well, I was looking at 4 and 12. So could he make them 9 and 7? I believe he could. Do I think Tom Brady's still going to go 12 and 4? I definitely think that they're going to go 12 and 4. What has Tom Brady been doing for the last 4 months? He has been violating sort of unwritten rules, right? He's been out there practicing in the hot Tampa sun against the advice of NFL doctors and executives, right? And DeMaurice Smith took him on the other day where you can't do that to us because we're still trying to negotiate whether, are you going to get workman's comp if you guys test positive? How's it going to go? And Tom's like, no, I'm going out there to practice and we're going to do it as safely as possible. They're not running into each other. They're not trading collision sweat. They're just throwing and catching.
And why is he doing that, Skip? Why is he putting himself and teammates at risk? Because he wants to show, okay, New England, you ain't want to do this. I'm going to show you that I still have something left.
Okay. So I saw a Pro Football Focus story yesterday that had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster ranked 5th in the NFL. Wow, they went 7 and 9 last year. I wonder how they vaulted all the way up to 5th. Maybe could it be because they added the GOAT and the GOAT tight end?
Well, first of all, Skip Bayless, they had a talented roster last year. They didn't meet those obligations. Obviously, Jameis turned the ball over too much. But their defense had spells where they weren't great either.
It was not, but then they came alive at the end. So, okay, I'll give you 5th for them. Belichick's defense was ranked, this is pre-Cam. I mean, not defense, their whole roster was ranked 18th. So will Cam lift them up into the top 10? I don't know, maybe. I'm not seeing it because I think Cam is going to find out that what Brady failed with last year often was a receiving core that Pro Football Focus ranked dead last in separation. Mohamed Sanu, according to the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp, was basically a bust. Can he, after surgery, bounce back and have a Sanu-type year, which is why they gave a second for him? Can N'Keal Harry measure up to the first-round pick that was used on him by Bill Belichick, first-round receiver that he's picked since he has been in New England over the last 20 years? He didn't show me a lot down the stretch.
Well, Skip, when you look at it, you look at this roster. They built this offensive roster for Tom Brady. This offensive roster is really not conducive for what Cam likes to do. Cam likes to push the ball down the field. Now, if you look at the roster, you look at all these guys, they're like shoreline. You know, Julian Edelman is a shallow runner. So they're not a team that really pushes the ball down the field. So they're going to have to revamp how they do certain things. Also, Skip, Carolina did a lot of damage for Cam. Skip, you're running quarterback powers. What do you think? And that's a big target. That's not a small man. That's a 6'5", 255-pound man that you're running a power like he's Eric Dickerson. So what do you think they're going to do? Okay, if you don't have any more respect than to run your quarterback on quarterback powers and draws, guess what? I'm going to treat him like a running back, and I'm going to tee off on him. Skip, you remember one of our first shows, because the year before the Broncos had won the Super Bowl, and they played opening night, they played Cam. You remember the hits Cam took? Some of them we thought was illegal. They punished him because they put him in harm's way by running him, and so the Broncos said, if that's what you care about him, we care even less.
True.
So, Skip, they're going to have to change some things in their offense, how they do business, because Cam is not really a three-step throw the ball, three-step throw the ball. That's not what he does. He's a five-step guy, push the ball down the field. He's had Greg Olsen basically his whole career. What tight end do they have?
None. They drafted 2 in the 3rd round. And other than that, they still got Ryan Izzo. And,
no.
Who else? I don't know. I can't even remember all the rest of them. They're tight ends as a group. Yeah, Matt Lacoste. They're tight ends as a group led by Benjamin Watson, who was playing at age 39, now retired. They were dead last in production last year of tight end groups, okay? So is it that much better? I think not. There's no Greg Olsen. There's really no Christian McCaffrey. I think James White is really good at what he does.
So that would help because he threw to the back. You know, C-Mac was there. He threw to the back a lot, so that would serve him well. But, Skip, at some point in time, you have to push the ball down the field. And I think that's a lot of times that's what stymied the Patriots last year, Skip, because that's fine and good moving between the 20s. But when the field gets condensed, once you get into the red zone, okay, you're running all these little shallow routes, then what?
Okay. And Belichick added from the Arizona Cardinals, Damiere Byrd, who was about the 4th receiver last year for Kyler Murray. And he added from Jacksonville, Marquise Lee, who missed all of 2018 and then tried to come back in 2019 and lasted 6 games before he went back on IR. Can he ever be Marquise Lee that we used to know and love? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. From the front 7, Bill Belichick lost Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins and Danny Shelton and Landon Roberts. 4 pretty key cogs, okay? So, and you traded Deron Harmon out of the back 4, but you still got Stephon Gilmore and you still got the twins, you know, so you got those guys. And what? Are they a dominating football team? I don't see it.
When you look at the Patriots, Skip, when you look at them from a front, with the exception, let's say, of the last decade, the exception of Chandler Jones, Skip, they've really never had a guy that says, okay, go win one-on-one. They're a scheme. They try to, all of a sudden, you'll see 5, 7 linebackers on the field, or you'll see 8 DBs. Coach Belichick's like this schematically. He's really never had that guy since he's been in New England, with the exception of a head early on. Now, he did have Willie McGinnis, who could rush the passer. He did have Seymour. But let's say in the last decade, it's basically been Chandler Jones that was the only guy that could go get the quarterback consistently without you having to scheme ways for him to get there. And for whatever reason, Chandler Jones fell out of favor. He had that one slip-up, Skip, where he did something, you know, and Coach Belichick says, nah, I'm not going to even pay you this. I'm going to move on. And Chandler Jones has had the most sacks over the last, 5 years of anybody, 4 or 5 years of anybody in the NFL. And he's never been able to replace that. But what he's done, Skip, is that he's gotten better on the back end. With Stephon Gilmore, he likes to play a lot of man coverage, whereas before, he was a cover 2 guy. He says, now I'm a pressure guy. Zero blitz, bomb blitz you. But Skip, when you do that, if you don't get there, I don't care how great the back end is. If you give that quarterback a chance to pat that ball and you vacated the middle of the field, they're going to hit you over the top.
Okay, so why did Bill Belichick wait this long to sign Cam? Obviously, he needed the market to settle so that he could get him on the cheap.
Yes.
Incentive-laden deal that could go up to $7.5 million, which is stealing a possible former MVP Cam Newton, right? So why would he wait this long and give Tom Brady a 4-month head start to get used to his new team and new receivers over Cam now thrust into a gotta speed it up situation with maybe camp short, and we still don't know how it's going to go.
Correct.
But how quickly can Cam get on the same page with his receiver? By the way, we didn't mention little Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
He's 34 years old, coming off surgery. He led the league in drops last year. Just for the record.
He was injured.
That was your go-to. So way to go. Good luck to you, Cam Newton. So why would Belichick wait this long? Maybe let the market settle, but didn't it settle after the draft? Couldn't this have been done 2 months ago? So it's possible to me Belichick has enough scoundrel in him that because he knew the punishment and the penalties were going to come down on his latest violation of NFL rules. I thought they were overpunished. We're going to talk about this later in the show. But they were punished because of their reputation. Their reputation is now going to take yet another hit after Spygate, after Deflategate, after all the other accusations against Belichick, once called by the late, great Don Shula Belicheat.
Yeah.
So is it possible?
What a GOAT head coach gave another coach a nickname.
Belicheat? Really? So is it possible he delayed the Cam bombshell announcement to yesterday or last night, right up against the announcement of his newest punishment and penalties? Is it possible he tried to undercut or overshadow the negative news with the great news, we got Cam?
Well, if he tried to do that, he did a great job of that, Skip, because I forgot all about it. I think everybody forgot all about what transpired on in Cincinnati. I think it was Cincinnati, Skip. I think everybody forgot. It's like, oh, well, they got away with it. No harm, no foul. Because they said it was an innocent mistake. The NFL says clearly, this is not an innocent mistake. With the fine and what they had to pay, Skip, and losing another draft pick, like you mentioned, we're going to talk about it a little later. So the NFL says, no, that was an innocent mistake.
So now I get to the nitty-gritty of Cam plus Belichick. What have I told you for 4 years here on Undisputed about Brady? He has swallowed all of the Napoleonic dictatorial verbal abuse that Bill Belichick gave him for 20 years in New England. I'm talking about verbal abuse in film sessions when he constantly called out the quarterback for bad plays in front of the team. And he constantly called out the quarterback and just ripped him up and down in front of the team during practice sessions. I don't know if Cam Newton can stomach that. Well, I don't know if he can swallow that.
Skip, it was easy for Coach Belichick to do that to Tom because you have to understand, we're looking at Tom as the finished product now, not like Tom who came in as a 6th-round draft pick, really didn't play his rookie season, didn't start, and then all of a sudden he plays. So Coach Belichick had already formulated his plan. Well, I can talk to you like that. It's hard for me to believe that Coach Belichick would have talked to Peyton Manning in the same way. Had Peyton Manning been what he was, because Peyton was what he was. He was the #1 overall pick. Skip, when you're a 6th-round draft pick, you get talked to a different way. Even if you, no matter what, 1st-round draft picks normally they get chewed out, but not to the extent to say a lesser guy. Because I don't know what somehow the higher your draft pick, I guess the more fragile your ego is. I guess that's what they're thinking, Skip. But for me, Coach Belichick laid the groundwork early on with Tom Brady and with everybody else. And so Tom understood, Skip, I am a 6th-round draft pick. So he didn't say anything. Once you start winning, why are you going to mess with what's working? So why are you going to buck, Skip? You win 3 Super Bowls in your first 5 years, and Coach Belichick has been chastising you. Why would you ever deviate from that? Because you don't want to be the one that upset the cart. So now Tom Brady's like, you made me suppress all of this. Now you see him, he posting and he's doing all kind of talking and doing things that we never would have thought Tom Brady would have done. But it worked, Tom. Okay. You can't complain. You can't complain with the outcome.
So are you saying Bill Belichick will mellow or just suddenly sit back and say, I can't handle this quarterback the way I was able to handle that quarterback?
I think the mark of a really great coach, Skip, is understanding each player is different and understanding what buttons to push to get the maximum effort. And so maybe riding Tom was a way to get the maximum effort out of Tom. That's not necessarily the right way or the way to do it with Cam Newton. He's going to have to figure that out. I'm sure they're going to have to sit down and going to have a conversation and with Coach Belichick and Cam. Okay, Cam. So tell me how did they coach you in Carolina? So it's going to be different,
Hey,
Skip.
Cam is his own man. You know that.
And Josh McDaniels, Skip, he's gotten on Tom Brady. He's gotten in Tom's face.
He has. And yet, in this all-time greatest moment in time with heightened racial sensitivity, white coach, black quarterback, Bill Belichick's going to have to be a little more careful than he was with the white quarterback that was Tom Brady.
Right.
The all-time whitest quarterback, you could argue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the point is, I don't know how long they'll last together. I don't know, unless Belichick got desperate enough that he kept looking at his roster and looking at Jared Stidham and maybe Brian Hoyer, but probably Jared Stidham. And he had this dream of, I'm going to show the world I got another diamond in the mid to late round rough. I got a 4th round pick named Jared Stidham that nobody loved except us. And we're going to take him and make him the 6th round Tom Brady of the future.
Right.
Well, that's his goal and dream. And I think he came to his senses, got a little desperate and said, I can't do it like this. This is too risky.
It's kind of like when you do it once, you feel you can do it again. It's kind of like Jerry Krause. What he found out of Central Arkansas, he found Scottie Pippen. So he's like, I found one, I can find another one. Okay. Nah, bro, that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Coach Belichick, yeah, you found that one, but that was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You don't drop down in the 6th round, 7th round, and be finding all-time great players, regardless of position, Skip. That doesn't you might get one. But to say that, okay, that's what I did with Tom, I'm going to do that again, probably not going to happen.
Belichick was somewhat a prisoner of the 2 games he faced Cam Newton. Remember 2013, the Monday night football game at Carolina, and Cam was sensational. In fact, these might be two of the best games he's ever played. Then 2017 at Foxborough, he out-dueled Tom Brady 33-30, and he went 23 of 29 for, I think it was 315. It was all-time Cam. It was tremendous. And I think Belichick would say, man, I tried to defend him and I couldn't stop him in either game. So maybe I should take a shot here.
I think the thing with Coach Belichick, Skip, guys will stomach a lot as long as they're winning. It would have been interesting to see would Tom Brady have let Coach Belichick coach him as he did if they weren't winning divisions, if they weren't going to championships, winning championships on a consistent basis.
Nine Super Bowls in 20 years?
In 20 years. So, Skip, players will stomach a lot. If that it gets really old because you see what got Coach Pencil, what you call him, behind his ear. Patricia's tried to do that same strategy up in Detroit. And it's not working.
Because they are rebelling.
You up here yelling and screaming. We winning like 6 games a year. What you talking? Get out my face.
Yeah, we pass you in the hallway and you look the other way. You won't even say hello to us?
Exactly.
Really? Well, that's what Belichick did.
Right, but Coach Belichick's winning Super Bowls. And that's, I think, Skip, a lot of times that's the mistake that some of these, off the coaching tree, that's the mistake that they make. And I understand. But, you have to put your own spin on it. You can't get up there sounding like Coach Belichick without his resume. Because you have to understand, guys are going to see, okay, let me see, I understand you came from Coach Belichick, but let me see what you can bring to the table.
So I've seen most of the Patriots Super Bowl odds have fallen from about 25-1 to about 20-1.
Yeah, they'll pick that up.
I will give you that.
Yeah.
But I will not give you more victories than Tom Brady. Are you
I feel very comfortable. I feel very comfortable with
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Do you feel comfortable enough to double our bet right here, right now?
I don't want to
We got 5 cases. I will go 10 cases.
No.
You got Cam Newton. You got an MVP. I just got little old Tom Brady at age 43.
If you given me a Cam saying like March, been on to something. Cam could have had that playbook, studying, getting it done.
So you're not that fired up about that.
I feel a lot better. A lot better.
I think you feel a little better. And I still feel real good.
How about put it to you like this? I'm about 6 weeks into an 8-week rehab. That's how good I'm feeling. Yeah, right now.
Really? Okay. Well, after your vacation,
no setbacks.
You might need a little rehab, right?
No setbacks.
No mercy.
Well, last week, the NASCAR community showed their support for Bubba Wallace after a noose was discovered in his garage at Talladega. The FBI conducted an investigation and found that the noose had been in that garage since at least October of 2019 and was used as a door pull. They also said nobody could have known Wallace would have been assigned to the same garage last week. And since we didn't have shows last week, you guys were not able to comment on this. So, Shannon, what are your final thoughts on what happened?
I don't really know what the blow-up was about with Bubba Wallace because, first of all, Bubba Wallace did not report it. Bubba Wallace didn't see it. Now, he might have saw a picture of it, but it was before he got there. He was notified. He was briefed of what transpired. So everybody's trying to make Bubba Wallace out to be Jesse Smollett is gravely, sadly mistaken. Skip, it was a noose. Now, NASCAR didn't need the FBI to come in to tell them what it was. It was a noose. Skip. And people are like, well, yes, it was a noose. Skip, if I kill a fly with my shoe is not a fly swatter. It's still a shoe. I just used it for something different. That is a noose that they use for a garage pull. Now, you bring the FBI in and see, okay, did someone put this there trying to intimidate Bubba Wallace? Who did it? That's what you're trying. That's why you bring the FBI in. You didn't need the FBI to tell you what it was. Hell, you're looking at it. Look up, I tell you what, go to any page and see noose and see what does it look like what was hanging in Bubba Wallace's garage. Now think about it, Skip, of all the tracks, all the garages, if there's 43 cars, 45 cars on a given Sunday running, each one of them have their own garage. As many tracks as they have, I think it's over 1,600. Only one, they had a noose. Now 11 still use the rope pull. Skip, I grew up I've been in garages, grew up on a farm. Now normally when you have a pull that you're gonna pull it down, what Mr. Joe would use what we call a ball knot. He would fix it so it was like a ball. You just grab it and pull it down.
Got it.
Or they would just try just a common knot. So you just grab it and pull it. I've never seen one fashioned like a noose because a noose is what it is. It's a noose. Why you put it there or why they used it doesn't change what it was. Because they use it as a garage door pull does not change the meaning of what it is. It is still a noose. And for people to be, and think about what transpired, Skip, and that's what was leading up to this. All of a sudden, NASCAR says Black Lives Matter. They're doing away with the Confederate flag. And now, on the very same day, you got people still outside of the track with those Confederate flags. You got the plane flying over with the Confederate flag saying defund NASCAR. So NASCAR acted, I believe, appropriate.
Yep.
They had to take these steps. And so, Skip, I have no problem with the way Bubba Wallace handled it. I have no problem with the way NASCAR handled it because I think they handled it the only way they could. But it just goes to show you, Skip, this is a Southern sport. Yeah, they come out to California and they race in Vegas and they go upstate New York to Watkins Glen. But if you look at it, you go Talladega and you go Daytona and you go Richmond and you go Hampton and Atlanta, Georgia. Skip, this is a Southern sport. And that Confederate flag has been a part, it's been ingrained, embedded in NASCAR since NASCAR has come to be. So people are going to resist this now. They're going to fight. Now, I'm glad, but I got a bigger question, Skip. It's been there since October, and nobody thought like, damn, they got a noose. That's a garage for it. And nobody thought anything about that. That goes to show you how ingrained and how commonplace things of that nature would be.
How insensitive they are to that.
That ain't no garage pull. That's all it is. Come on, Skip, really? So I have no problem with the way NASCAR handled it, and I think Bubba Wallace handled it accordingly.
Okay. So I echo your sentiments about NASCAR. The new NASCAR got out ahead of this story in ways the old NASCAR never would have. The new NASCAR, led by Steve Phelps, did a lot of good to try to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
I'm just not sure we got to the very bottom of what was happening. So let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Let's say, per the FBI report, let's agree that this was hanging in that said garage since last October.
Right.
So as here we come back to Talladega again. By the way, Talladega is in sort of the eastern side of Alabama, fairly near the Georgia state line. So it's in what we would call the deep south, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there are 40 drivers in the race, and there are 44 stalls in the garages in the infield. And usually it just goes by point standings or sort of money earned, but point standing.
Right.
how you preferred garages closer to entry point into the track.
Correct.
The better you are, the closer you get.
Right.
So usually it would sort of fall like that. With social distancing, they're trying to do it a little different way right now, so it gets a little more complicated how Bubba winds up in that garage. But remember, you have 44 possibilities.
Right.
And there's only one black driver in the whole sport who races full time.
Correct.
Right? Help me out. What are the odds he winds up in the one stall that had a noose hanging in it since last October? Help me out. Is that just sheer, like a 1,000,000,000 coincidence? It's not a billion, but it'd be thousands to one.
Bubba might need to play the lottery.
I would say. Don't you think?
Yes.
Or not play, like run for the lottery.
But
right?
here's the thing, though, Skip. If that was there, you don't think somebody in his garage would have just like taken it down before? So, man, this is not a good look. But it just go like as we were talking about, Skip. It just goes to show you that that ain't nothing. They use that as a garage pool. It's a noose still. How they're using it, Skip. How you use something does not change the meaning of what that is.
So I loved it that the FBI did deep dive research and came back with that number that you just read, 1,684 garage areas across, 29 racetracks, right? And only 11 pulls, door
Use
pulls.
ropes.
Use rope, okay? And no, only 11 were tied with knots.
That's not.
They all have a rope, but only 11 had those kind of knots that you're talking about, like just kind of a ball knot, so that you can rest your fist on it, so you can get a little more leverage to pull the door down.
Yes.
Okay, we get that.
Yes.
Only one noose. And by the way, so the point is, the FBI, I needed one more level of research that we didn't get. Okay, so who's responsible? Who signed off on putting Bubba in that garage?
Right.
And whose responsibility was it to have some idea of what was hanging in the garage to start with?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So I'm still a little bit in the dark about how did Bubba wind up in that garage? Somebody had to say, Bubba, you're assigned to that garage. And did somebody have any idea there was a noose hanging in that garage?
Well, Skip, it's hard for me to believe that they found that, race day? I mean, they had to be there on like a Thursday or Friday. They had to get there because they have to have stuff already in the garage. So for no one to I'm not saying they didn't notice it, Skip, but I believe because of NASCAR and the way it's done business for such a long time, this was just like, that's nothing.
Okay, now let's talk about the noose in question. To NASCAR's credit, it released on Friday a picture of the actual noose.
Yeah.
Okay? And if we could see that picture, please. This was shocking to me to see it because, here we go.
Right.
Okay, I sort of got it in my head. Maybe it's a tiny noose used for a handle. Where you fashioned a little one?
Yes.
That would be just big enough to put your hand in to pull it down?
Right.
That looks a little bigger than that to me. That looks like that's big enough to go around a man's neck. That looks right.
It's slidable. It's adjustable, Skip. You can move it up and down.
Well, that's
so
what
if you
I'm
got
saying.
a little neck, or you got a chicken neck, or you got a bigger neck.
So to me, what is the single most evil symbol of slavery and then extended slavery in this country?
Yeah, with the noose.
It was the noose.
Yeah.
Because even after the slaves were quote unquote freed, what started happening?
Right.
A lot of white people in the South started saying, you ain't free.
You're not free.
Yeah.
They drag you from your home, and then they would hang you.
Okay, there we go. And what was it called? Strange fruit? Okay, so there's nothing more evil than that symbol we just saw.
Right.
And yet, that wasn't a little one. That wasn't fashioned for efficiency or convenience to be able to grab hold with just grab your hand around it. It looked like it was put there for a purpose, a reason to make a statement.
Skip, I guess they're going to say, well, what happened was if you look at the noose, you just reach up there and you just put your hand in the noose and you just pull down. That's how we did it, Skip. That's all it was. That's what we did. But Skip, why?
I don't know.
If you took that kind of time to fashion that kind of, because Skip, I mean, obviously you get very proficient. Guys that's in the garage can tie knots in a matter of seconds because they've been doing it for a long time. But if you took the time to do that when you couldn't do it, just do a ball knot?
So I love the way all the other drivers, obviously all white drivers, literally stood behind Bubba.
Yeah.
I love that statement. But once again, the greatest development we've had post-murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis is that finally in this country, all the remnants of racism are being openly challenged. It hasn't ever happened before.
Right.
And I tweeted about this the other day, and if you don't mind, I'm going to read my tweet this is from early last week while we were off. I said, the racists keep clinging desperately to symbols of the past, born of hate and slavery, passed down by generations of parents teaching children. But now so many Americans of their same color have been awakened and are saying, no, enough. Now they are a dying breed, meaning those races. So again, the statues are coming down. The symbols are coming down. Now the lawmakers in Mississippi have ruled that that flag will be no more. It will be done away with. It's got to get ratified by their house there.
Yeah. And the governor says he will sign it.
But it sure seems like that's going to be the end of that Confederate legacy flag.
Yes.
Any remnant of slavery / racism of the past, the South shall rise again, is being openly challenged because they all got grandfathered in.
Right.
Every one of them got grandfathered in to where we were all just insensitive, like it's there. Like all the black athletes who went to Ole Miss, I've been saying for 20 years, how can you sort of live with this?
Right.
And again,
you score a touchdown, they come and they wave the rebel flag when you score. They're
waving the rebel flag in your face because they're happy for you. But wait, they're still celebrating your worst moments.
I think Kalen Hill, I think that's his name, Skip. And he was like, when you read his comments about what he posted, and he was like, it dawned on him. He's like, you cheer for me in one breath, and then in the same token, because I don't want this flying in my face and what it symbolizes. You say that in this other, in another breath.
The kid who transferred to Iowa State.
No, the running back.
Okay, I got it.
And Skip, but I'm like, really? But Skip, I don't get it. You lost. They're trying to hold on to a remnants of the past, as you mentioned. You lost.
You lost.
You try to thumb your finger in our eye. Look at this. We have to go to school. Robert E. Lee. What? He lost. Stonewall Jackson. You lost. You don't put when did they start putting losers' names on buildings? Well, it is when it's their heritage, it's their ancestors, and we need to hold on because if we let this skip, you lost. You don't normally when we study history, we don't really mention too much about the loser side. So if that part's get erased, we gotta have a remembrance of it. We gotta see that statue. That's Stonewall Jackson. What happened to him? Oh yeah, he lost. So why you got a statue? Well, you know, it's our pride, it's a sense of pride. Skip, everybody knows there's only one reason the South fought its own self, which was the North. It was to maintain slavery and the economic base. Skip, there's no way around that. No
I got
way.
you. So, thankfully, all this is being openly challenged. It's now open season on racism.
Yes.
So even though it seems like Bubba Wallace is okay with this, I even saw that his mom did an interview on radio this morning, and she said that in the past, when he gets in disagreements with other white drivers, he has been called the N-word, which I think is, that's the most evil word in our language. So that troubled me enough. Right. But she said this went beyond that in Bubba's mind. The noose hanging in my garage, it's the ultimate evil symbol of post-slavery, of extended slavery.
Skip, when you wanted to incite fear, there's two things that white America did to black America to incite fear. They burned the cross and they hung a noose because everybody knew what the symbolism was. Everybody knew what that meant. So if you wanted to incite fear, that's what you did. Simple as that.
Okay, so it's over. You're going to have to get used to. This is a new America. I know we got a whole lot of problems, but at least we're eliminating the most glaring ones.
Yes.
The ones that are hiding in plain sight all over this country are coming down.
It's going to take a while, Skip, because you have to understand when you're dealing with something that's been in existence for 401 years. So this is not something that's going to happen in one day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. It's going to take time, but we're tired of that now. We want these steps moving forward. We're not, and no more walking, no more 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We need a continuous pace. And Skip, They're still in the streets. They're still protesting.
Good.
They're still protesting. And then it's
top of mind.
And then you saw what happened in Louisville, Skip. There's somebody that got angry and ended up shooting in the crowd and he killed somebody and just, you see it, Skip, it's not going away easy.
No mercy.
Hard to believe, but it has been nearly 10 years since LeBron went on national television to declare which team he would be signing with. The infamous decision received its share of criticism after LeBron announced he'd be taking his talents to South Beach to play for the Heat and would be leaving his hometown Cavs. So, Shannon, do you have a problem with the decision and how it all went down?
Nope. Do not have a decision with it, Skip Bayless. When I look at it, Skip, and I get some of the anger for the Cleveland fans, is because, Skip, our hometown guy is leaving us. Left, gone. We're not going to be the same because there's a reason why we're in position to get him, Skip. We weren't very good. So if he leaves, they weren't very good. They get 2 first number 1 overall picks after LeBron left, and they've been in position to get several more since he's been gone again. Skip, I think what happened is that when LeBron did what he did, LeBron's like, okay, the decision's going to happen. And what happened was, Skip, from the time LeBron lost to, I think, to Boston, until he made that decision, it was like almost 2 months. Skip, you're old enough to remember Jenny before Jenny don't remember this. But you remember Skip Dallas, who shot JR? Now, you remember back then, you had to wait all the way till the fall, and they built that thing up. They kept running, who shot JR? Was it Sue Ellen? Was it Bobby? Was it this one? They build that suspense. In television, we call that teasing. So LeBron was teasing. Well, who is it, Bron? He didn't do no talking during the season. He didn't let anybody know. Suitors, come see me. Miami, Brooklyn, Knicks, Chicago, and of course, Cleveland. And so everybody was on the edge of the seat. He's like, well, hold on. If ESPN's going to put this on their air and they're going to make some money, I should at least get something out of the deal. Maybe I'll raise some money for charity. People don't want to talk about that, but that's what he did. Raise money for a very worthy cause. Boys and Girls Club. Yes. Skip, for me, I don't have a problem. Skip, it wasn't like he didn't own a network now. It was like if he was Oprah and Oprah puts it on her own network, that's a different thing. But someone came to him and said, like, do you mind? And LeBron is 25 years of age, and I understand Pete Dawson's grown, but LeBron had never been in this situation before because now he's got everybody's watching. But from that moment on, LeBron realized, and it's the thing that we say about power, people don't realize how much power they have. LeBron said, whoa, y'all hanging on every word I say. 10 million live, nobody can do that. Did you know The Last Dance only averaged about 5.6?
10 million viewers.
Yeah. And when he made that decision, it peaked, crescendoed, apex.
Still, by far, the most watched studio show in the history of ESPN. That means non-game. Still the highest.
13.1.
Yep.
That was the paradigm shift that gave the athletes the power that we see in the NBA today. And I think what hurt LeBron, look, he understands the fans being upset because he was leaving Cleveland. That hurt him, Skip, because you're burning his jersey and you're calling all out of his name. And then the owner, your value has doubled in your franchise. And this is what you think of me? Had a little racial undertone to it. Well, ain't no undertone. That was overtures. That wasn't no undertone. That was overtures. And so that was the moment that LeBron James realized, man, I got power. I didn't realize. That's the mistake that people make, Skip. They don't realize how much power they have. When they don't think they have any, that's when you give up your power. And LeBron didn't know he had this kind of power. And then once he saw that, it's over. That's why a lot of these execs, a lot of people, I think what hurt LeBron more than anything, it was the former guys that played that was so hard on him. Because we'd never seen this before, Skip. Michael came back with the facts. I'm back. That's all he said. Bird, Magic, never had it. When they re-signed Skip, they never did anything like this. And so the old guard, Skip, they have a way of doing things, and they want you to toe that line. And LeBron says, nah, I'm stepping out of that line. And so for me, Skip, he didn't demand a trade. He played the contract out. He fulfilled his obligation in Cleveland, fulfilled it in Miami, went back to Cleveland, fulfilled it. Now, let the man live his life. Everybody, people leave jobs all the time. Just imagine, Skip, you leave a job and your team and your co-workers, so people standing outside calling you all kind of names. That's what happened with old Goat James.
Goat.
Don't go James.
Phony goat.
Just stop saying that.
Okay. I have the same opinion of the decision now that I had the day after on ESPN on First Take on July, it would have been the 9th of 2010,
Right.
10 years ago almost. I had the same opinion. I actually loved it. It was great theater. I didn't mind it for my network giving up its airtime, giving a whole hour to LeBron James. He was that big of a deal because he was such a huge free agent acquisition. We had been going on for 2 months on ESPN. All we ever talked about was speculating. Is it Miami? Is it staying in Cleveland? Is it Chicago? Is it an X Factor team that we're not seeing?
And he was the biggest free agent, since Shaq? We hadn't seen anything like that, Skip.
And it had dragged on, to your point, for 2 long months. And I was ready for a big theatrical crescendo, so I had no problem with the choice to do the decision on live national TV, but I had a big problem with how LeBron executed it. And it was interesting. I watched the special last night on ESPN by Don Van Atta, who did a very good job on this. He pointed out that Commissioner Stern went to John Skipper, a friend of mine who was then running ESPN, and just campaigned, no. It's going to make LeBron look bad. Well, I couldn't figure out why it would make him look bad unless he made himself look bad on the special, or on the decision. But Don Van Atta reported that LeBron was urged before it to thank the fans of Cleveland, and that LeBron did not prepare for this. He did know. Usually LeBron is like a PR whiz. Like he's all over it. He's thought of every nook and cranny of it. Could go here, so I got to go there. This, that. Be ready for it and have a speech ready that you can do off the cuff like he did on Kobe night, that Friday night when we were at the Super Bowl. He was brilliant. But he'd obviously thought it through. He had a plan in his head, and then he just let his heart take over. Could have done the same thing here. So did he thank the fans of Cleveland? He did not. So after 7 years, he owed them, and I'll just, off the top of my head, I was blessed to be able to start my career and play 7 years in my home area in Akron/Cleveland. And I love the fans of Cleveland and that, whatever they call Northeast Ohio. I love them, and they will always hold a huge place in my heart. But I now have an opportunity to play alongside one of my best friends in the world, if not my best friend, in Dwayne Wade. And it's an opportunity I'm going to take because it's not going to come along again anytime soon. And obviously he would know Dwayne was a little ahead of him in years. So I need to maximize my chances to play with Dwayne. If LeBron had sold it that way, which I think was from his heart, then I think it would have been so much more palatable for the fans in Cleveland. Instead, he showed no gratitude for them having his back all those years. They had not won a championship. He was regarded as the best player in basketball, but they got to 1 finals and they got swept by the Spurs. So he needed to be much more gracious to the fans, just to Cleveland. And make it hard. Make it, if you want to cry, you could cry. Like this has torn me apart. But we got none of that. And I thought his rapport with Jim Gray was pathetic. It was like they didn't know each other, and LeBron was a little leery of Jim.
Well, Skip, they didn't know each other, Skip, but you got to understand.
But they chose him. Maverick Carter and company, that they all said, we want Jim Gray.
Skip, and I think
remember, ESPN wanted Stu Scott, or, there are other possibilities, but probably Stuart Scott.
But Skip, I think LeBron is that knowing that he's going to make, because he said the night before because they're leading up to that, Skip, he's like, this team, okay, that team, no, this team. And then he's like, it's going to be Miami. And then he's like, the night before, knowing, I don't think he thought he would get the vitriol and the blowback that he got from Cleveland. I don't think he thought that part through. Skip, so you leading up to it, you tease. And Skip, you forgot, because you remember in 1963 on the March on Washington, it was Mahalia Jackson. Martin, tell him about the dream. He didn't have that written in the speech. He had forgotten about Martin, tell him about the dream.
That's true.
So,
okay, all right.
He Skip, you up there, Skip, you forget.
Okay. So he forgot, but he was tense. And he's never tense.
No.
In any public setting, he's the opposite of tense.
Yes.
He is totally
He's
poised
very relaxed now in every situation.
Right?
Absolutely, yes.
Go look at the tape of it. His face is tight, and he's nervous, and he's not sure. And he'd obviously planned only one line, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
Right.
And Commissioner Stern just ripped it to shreds. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach? It sounded so arrogant that it wasn't what David Stern stood for.
Right.
It didn't. That's not the image he wanted his superstars to project.
Correct.
He wanted them to show a little bit more humility. But as the special last night on ESPN pointed out, it was Kobe Bryant who originally used that same line when he left Lower Merion High School and had to announce at a press conference, am I going to Duke or am I going? And he said, I'm going to take my talents to
the NBA.
Long pause. The NBA.
Yep.
Okay. So it wasn't even an original line.
Right.
And LeBron, being the student of history that he is, and Kobe was his, remember, that was in the days of, it's LeBron, Kobe, LeBron. His arch rival, so to speak, was Kobe Bryant.
Right.
So he borrowed the phraseology Kobe had used coming out of high school and turned it into, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
Right.
And then the firestorm hit, and it showed all the negativity that made LeBron look bad. Well, it wouldn't have if he had handled it from the heart.
Right.
If he had made Cleveland fans feel a whole lot better about, I gave you 7 years, and who knows, maybe one day we'll reunite again.
Right.
If he could have presented it that way, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He was cold-blooded.
Skip, this was the biggest decision LeBron has ever had to make. Because all these other decisions, Skip, he got drafted to the Cavs. That wasn't a decision he had to make. You got to go. Okay, with Nike. Okay, you got Adidas and you got Nike. And that was off, hey, you just make a decision. But Skip, this is live. You're doing this live. There are no redos. It's not no cut. Okay, we go back and do that over, or we edit. There's no CG in this one, Skip. This is live right now. And so you're talking about a 25-year-old man. And I get it, he's 25. But unless you do this, unless you've done this. And so what happened is LeBron is the trailblazer, because anytime LeBron does something and it goes bad, it tells everybody else, don't do that. When LeBron does something good, everybody says, let's do that. So now what do you see, Skip? Everybody else, what are they getting? Production companies. Look at Russ. Look at KD. Look at Dame. Look at Steph Curry. See, this is what happens. LeBron did that. They're like, oh, no, I ain't doing that. KD ain't doing that. When he left OKC, Skip, he ain't do that, did he?
No. Okay. So I'm assuming the blood had already gone real bad between LeBron and his owner, Dan Gilbert. And he rejoined him later, which was like a 1,000,000,001 shot, which I still can't quite comprehend.
I still can't either.
After all that transpired. So Dan Gilbert was already angry because LeBron didn't pick up the phone, at least before the decision, maybe even moments
Rich Paul
before.
said he called.
He called.
Yes, Rich Paul said I called. But I guess he wanted to hear from LeBron.
He wanted to hear it straight from LeBron. And he wanted some kind of thank you for all that you did for me, some kind of grace from him, like graciousness, where you say, gee, this was the toughest decision I ever made, and I thank you for all you've done, but I'm going to go play with Dwayne for a couple of years, 3-4 years here, just see what happens.
Right.
And yet, Dan Gilbert was so irate that night he did two things. He posted a public, just sort of an open letter, but he also did, more to the point, an interview that night with the Associated Press in which he said he accused LeBron of quitting. He said he quit against Boston in that final series in Cleveland, first go-around. Not just in Game 5, said Dan Gilbert, but in Games 2, 4, and 6, watch the tape. The Boston series was unlike anything in the history of sports for a superstar. Well, this is just a salvo. Now, if you want to do plantation mentality, you, be my guest. I don't know. I think it's
dare you leave me.
Okay, it's just straight bitterness. And then he even accused him of quitting the previous year in the Orlando series, in which they also lost Games 4, 5, and 6. After they were neck and neck with Orlando, obviously. And he said, go back and look at that tape. So he said, in the end, LeBron has gotten a free pass. People have covered up for him for too long. Tonight, we saw who he really is. Okay? Well, LeBron invited that in a way because he didn't utter any thankfulness to Cleveland at all. He gave them not 1 ounce.
I think
of
the thing is,
respect.
Skip, I think the thing is also you have to look at, Skip, like when you read something that's scripted, people don't think it's from the heart. Remember Mike Gundy? He reading off the prompter, and they said, Mike, you full of bullshit. LeBron spoke from the heart. They said, well, you didn't practice, you didn't rehearse. So you got LeBron at his most unprepared.
Yeah,
and when you do something like this, Skip, even though you don't have to read it scripted, you better be prepared. Okay, if he asked me this, where could it possibly go? You play all these scenarios. You get Rich, you get Mav, you get Randy in a room. Okay, guys, you're going to be different reporters. And you just, whatever you're thinking, just ask. To prepare yourself for this moment, Skip. And I don't think he went through that. I don't think he thought, he didn't think that, yeah, I'm going to make this decision on live television, and that will be the end of it.
Okay.
That was only the beginning.
And Jim Gray seemed to have no pre-plan with LeBron because he wanted to drag out the actual answer.
Right.
So he asked him about 5 questions that nobody cared about.
Right.
Like, what's it been like over the last couple of months? And LeBron was very awkward in his answers because he seemed surprised by
What
the
you mean what
question.
it's been like? It's tough. I mean, Skip, and I think one of the reasons why they went away from Stuart Scott, they knew the relationship that Stu Scott had with Jordan. Both
Could be
Tar Heel,
Carolina.
Yeah. And Stu had been able to sit down and do interviews with Jordan, especially after those finals. And so they kind of wanted to stay away from that.
There's also Bob Lee, obviously, outside the lines, and that was a possibility. It was one of those two. So whichever.
Bob Lee, Bob Costas, one of those guys. I mean, you can't go out. I don't know if they'd let Costas do it on their network, but I'm just saying they'd had to, work that out with NBC. But I like Bob Lee. I think he'd have been great.
Tom Brady and Jim Gray have great rapport, and Brady just trusts him. Anything that he's going to ask, Brady rolls with it and laughs it off.
He doesn't ask him. He doesn't, hey, Brady, I'm going to ask you this. Okay, so go ahead and prepare. He doesn't send him a list. Okay.
It's possible.
Kind of like they did on Hillary. Here's the question that we're going to ask you for the debate.
Okay.
You didn't get this from me.
Well, clearly Jim Gray and LeBron had no communication whatsoever.
The first time they might have saw each other at the interview. He's sitting across from LeBron.
It felt like that.
It really did, Skip.
Right.
And I'm watching the last I'm like, I don't even know LeBron. Because now when you see him do the interview, he's so relaxed. He's chill. Then he was sitting straight up.
Yeah. He's in control now. He wasn't in control of that one. And it turned him, then he decided, I have to be a villain now.
Be something
and so
he's not.
then in that first pep rally that the Heat threw, remember, in their arena?
Yeah.
And it was not 2, not 3, not 4. He went all the way up to 7. We're going to win 7 Not even so. We're going to go beyond 7 championships, which was uncharacteristic of LeBron. I think he regretted that. And so it just spun out of control for a year.
Well, you know what? If the only thing we're going to criticize him about is the decision, if that's the only thing that we can find fault with, LeBron, you been great.
No mercy.
Okay, last Monday, Dak Prescott ended his holdout by officially signing his exclusive franchise tag. He will earn just over $31 million in 2020 and is now expected to participate in training camp. The Cowboys and Dak still have until July 15th to get a long-term deal done. So, Shannon, was this the right move for Dak to sign a tag so soon?
Well, Skip, I always thought he was going to sign the tag. And I still believe he's going to play under the tag this year. It just seemed hard for me to believe that they built up so much bad blood that they would get it done now, when if that was the case, you didn't need to build up this bad blood. And I know everybody says the contract will get done when it gets done. And when it comes up to the 8th, I guess July 13th, 14th, because it has to be done by the 15th for Eastern time, that's when both parties will sit down and try to hammer out something. Skip, I never thought Dak was going to miss training camp, but I did always thought he would miss OTAs, he would miss the mini camps. And what hurt Dak, Skip, was COVID, because nobody was going to mini camp. Everybody was doing it virtually. So really, he's not being on the call, is what not being in the Zoom meetings and things. That's something totally different than his absence, physical absence, not being present, Skip. So I think that really hurt him this pandemic, because now all of a sudden they weren't having OTAs, they weren't having minicamp and not having Dak there. So I think that dealt him a blow also. But and when they signed Andy Dalton, that took a little bit of the power that Dak had, because Andy Dalton, whatever you might think of him, he's been a starter since he's been in the league. Andy Dalton has thrown for 4,000 yards. Andy Dalton had gone to the Pro Bowl. Andy Dalton had won a division. So he's a very quality guy. that the Cowboys like, well, if Dak doesn't want to come to camp and whatever, we feel very comfortable going forward with Dak. But for me, Skip, when I look at it, they got the July 15th is the deadline. So we're about 3 weeks away. We're roughly 3 weeks away, Skip. Maybe a little less, 18, 19 days.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. So we'll see how much progress, because seemingly you thought this was, like Jerry said last September, it was imminent. Imminent means future, present, real right around the corner. Imminent days, yes. Yeah. And so from right around the corner in September till here we are July 15th, and nothing has really gotten done. So it's going to be very interesting to see, Skip, but it's just hard when you build up so much bad blood, distrust. Jerry thought they had a deal. And then after the first 3 games, you say Dak agent says, nah, we need a little bit more money. And Jerry like, oh, hell no, I can't believe it. Forget it. And so that seems to be where we are now, Skip, is that we go from getting a deal done in September to here we are in almost mid-July before something actually gets done. If a deal is to get done, not the franchise tag, because he signed that, but I'm saying a long-term deal.
So your bottom line is?
Right, I believe he plays on the franchise tag.
So do I. But I have a different take on why they signed so early.
Okay.
Because they could have pushed it all the way to July 15th. They could go past July 15th. They had the ability to hold out of whatever training camp there is, however many preseason games there is. For that matter, they had the Le'Veon Bell authority. If you wanted to take it, you could legally hold out of real games if you wanted to. Okay. So
not $2 million a game, Skip.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But that's okay. I got you. But the point is, I believe this was a rather desperate PR move by Dak and his relatively new agent, because I think they believed they were losing in private with Jerry because the blood had gotten so bad after what happened early in the season. Nobody was budging 1 inch, 1 penny off. They wanted this, and Jerry and Steven said, no, this is as far as we're going to go. So they basically made a public statement whereby they said to Cowboy Nation, hey, we did the right thing. We signed early. They placed the tag on us. We accept the tag.
Right.
We give up our ability to hold out through training camp and preseason games. And we are now all in for the 2020 football season.
Right.
So now it's their turn to do the right thing by giving us the money that we have asked for before July 15th. Because now it's like, let's put the ball back into Jerry Stevens' court. Let's make them make a choice now with Cowboy Nation saying, well, listen, Dak, he's relented. He has signed, sealed, and delivered that you have placed the tag on him, and he will play under the tag if so forced to play. But in this case, when I talk about they want Jerry to pay them what they want, the one number that has not been made public even to this moment is exactly how much they are asking for. I believe it's somewhere up in the 40s. I believe it's 40+ million per year. I'm not sure if it's 4 years, 5 years. I don't know that. I just think that their strategy from the start was to get the kind of money that they believe Patrick Mahomes will ultimately get, because they wanted to be paid commensurate with Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, even after they get their new big money deals. So they're trying to preempt the news of those deals by saying, we get so much more than people thought that once they get their money, we're at least in the ballpark with both of them. It's a lot of money for Dak Prescott, especially coming off an 8-8 season in which he did not make the Pro Bowl, and down the stretch, he stunk it up at New England and he stunk it up at Philadelphia in the make-or-break game of the year. So it's harder for him to sell himself right here, right now. You always say right place, right time. And he is possibly free, except there's this thing called the tag. Well, now Jerry's saying, well, I can force him to play under the tag for 31.4. And if we have to, we can do it again next year, and he will play for 37. Well, if he's asking for, let's say, 42, I don't know what it is, but up in the 40s, well, obviously Jerry's doing the math saying 31, 37, I'll be better off if I just tag him the next 2 years. I'll save a lot of money.
But Skip, that eating so much into your cap, though, Skip. That's hard dollars against your cap. And see, here's what Dak's argument is, Skip. He says, okay, I understand Russell, and I understand Wentz, and I understand Goff, and Aaron Rodgers. But all of those guys had 2 years left on their deal when they made them, at the time, the highest paid player.
That is true.
I have no years left. So for you to put something in line with Jared Goff is not going to work because Jared Goff has 2 years left. I have no years left. Skip, you mentioned if they franchise this year, it's $31 million. If they franchise him next year, $37 million. If they franchise him a third time, $54 million.
That won't happen.
What they could do is transition him, and then that would be $45 million. So, Skip, if you just say the 3 franchise tags over 3 years, Skip, that's $122 million. I think Dak says that's the starting point of where I want to be in this negotiation.
I agree.
And I said, Skip, they said Jared Goff number. I said he's going to be looking for 10% more than what Jared Goff got. I think Goff got 113, so 10% more is right in line with what I've been saying, about 121, 122. So that's what Dak's argument is, Skip. He said, hold on. Sometimes you give up less because you're getting the guarantee, Skip. You're getting the security right now. Dak's like, I got no security. I had to go play. And so you want me to give you a discount. Dak said, I already gave you a $100 million discount. Remember, I was a 4th-round draft pick. I saved you $100 million your first 4 years. Because imagine if Dak, Skip, had come in with one of them old big old contracts. So Dak says, hold on, you paid me $400 my first year, and I was the rookie of the year. Where was the raise? I didn't get no raise with that. And then I come back the next year. When Zeke was going through what he was going through, I still went 9-7. And then I come back after that and win you another division. And I ain't get no raise. I ain't get nothing. And now I'm completely free. I'm completely out of contract. I got no more contract. And you say, oh, Dak, do your boy this solid. Cut me a discount. Dak said, no, I can't even do that, Jerry. I can't. I can't even good contract do that.
Yet Jerry, the report from his side of this equation is that on the table right now is $36 million a year for 5 years. I think it's $110-ish million guaranteed, which is pretty great because it would immediately make you the highest paid quarterback right now.
Right.
Is it Mahomes? No, it's not Mahomes' money.
Dak don't want Dak said, I just turned 27. I want to get 4 years because what's going to happen? Because, see, I know what y'all do. You think you're slick. Because if I sign a 5-year deal, Skip, guess what? Y'all could possibly franchise me. That's 6 years. Franchise, that's 7 years. Nah, I want a shorter-term deal. So that way, if you franchise me, I'm still at the front end of the 30s, Skip, and I'll still be able to get that big money. So this is what I want. Y'all, hey, y'all had y'all fun. Skip, the man made $4 million in 4 years for 2 divisions, 2 division titles, and a rookie of the year. That's better than anybody in this draft class.
Okay.
And now y'all want to give him chicken feed.
And yet, he is the quarterback of America's team. And all of a sudden, the bandwagon is rolling for my team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, run it.
All of a sudden, everybody wants to play for Dallas. Jamal Adams wants to play for Dallas. We're going to talk about this later, but Clowney wants to play for Dallas. Am I right?
Fast track. Hey, that fast track ain't going to do nothing but run off the tracks. Fast track ain't going to do nothing but run off the tracks.
People are just lining up. Can I play? Can I play?
Okay.
And again, Dak Prescott last year had a dozen national TV endorsements and commercials. A dozen. Could that go up to 15, 17? That's what happens when you're the quarterback of that team with that star on your helmet.
That's what happens when you play good football under that team. With that team, with that star on your helmet. Because what if Quincy Carter had no commercial like that? Why not? He had no commercial like that.
Nope, he did not.
Okay, then.
Well, I've told you, Dak is a top 10 quarterback, but I have him ranked 10th. Is he better than Patrick Mahomes? Well, obviously, you would say a big, flat,
no. Hold on. That ain't just goes to Dak. Nobody. From Aaron Rodgers to Tom Brady to Drew Brees, nobody is better than my homeboy.
So all of a sudden, I see Dak's MVP odds as high as one book that I saw in Las Vegas had him as high as 3rd.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
3rd? It's like the bandwagon is about to roll right over everybody because, wait a second, he suddenly has CD Lamb. It's the CD syndrome. And people are saying, wow, Dak's got it all. He might have the 3 best receivers in all of pro football. And you were doing
so good.
Okay, but that's what a lot of people are writing that.
No, ain't nobody wrote that.
Yes, they are. They're all writing that.
Nobody wrote that.
And you know what? That could be the case.
Ain't nobody wrote that.
Hey, wait a second. You got CD as your number 1. You got an emerging Gallup as your number 2. And now Amari is a 3?
So,
really?
So in other words, so are you saying so they're better than what Tom Brady has?
They might be. I can't argue the tight ends if we're just doing wideout.
You're just doing wideout. Okay. So they're better than Godwin, Evans?
The 3 versus the 2, maybe. Just maybe.
But because Godwin and what you call him are so much better than your outside guy, so if you want to throw Chris Humphrey or whomever the little slot guy is, so be it. Are they better than Evans and Emmanuel Sanders? I mean Thomas? Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders?
Well, 3-2.
No,
maybe.
Michael Thomas better than both of your guys.
It's harder to guard 3 than it is 2.
And then I ain't even talk about what my homeboy got.
Yeah. Who are you not going to double of those 3 guys? Help me out. That's what Dak should look forward to. He's got a potential Super Bowl team at his fingertips, but he has created bad blood.
Jerry and Steven created that when they strolled their little butts up there into the combine and told my Dak need to give me a discount. Skip, we hadn't even started negotiating. I hadn't even told you what I wanted. And you talk about a discount. I'm about to say, you know what, Jerry, I'd be willing to do this deal for $15 million. And now you want me to give you a discount for $15 million.
Jerry said imminent after the first game last year in which Dak lit up the New York Giants at Jerry World. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
And then Jerry's waiting. Well, all we got to do is cross a couple of T's and dot a couple of I's, and we're done, right? We're in the same ballpark. And then what happened? Dak lit it up at Washington, and then he lit it up at home against the mighty Dolphins. And all of a sudden, the agent informs Jerry and Stephen Jones, April Fools, except it's September, so it's September Fools. We have a new number in mind. It's 40 plus, so we just decided to change our offer.
Okay, Skip. I know, so, your brother is a great sheriff. Me, he and I both are James Baird former winners.
Is that right? Yeah. I did not know that about you.
Okay, he has a restaurant.
Yeah.
And the guy comes in and say, you know what, Rick, I want to buy the restaurant. And Rick says, okay. And he says, give me a couple of months, I'm gonna get it down. This is what I'm willing to. And James says, and your brother Rick says, okay, yeah. But all of a sudden, the sales over the next 3-4 months go through the roof. What the price I was going to sell you the restaurant before the sales started going through the roof again is not what you going to be able to get it for now.
Okay.
So Dak Prescott said, that was before I hit up the Giants for $400. That was before I dropped this $310 on the Washington. So it cost you a little bit more, Jerry.
So what if my brother says, you know what, I'm going to just wait on this. I'm going to hold back here, and let's see what happens over the next 3 months to our business. And business goes south because Dak went a little south last year because over the last 13 games, after he just lit up the league in those first 3 against, you said, garbage teams.
They were.
And you were right about that, that over the next 13 games, Dak ranked 15th in the league according to Pro Football Focus among quarterbacks. 15.
Yeah.
Well, suddenly my brother's deal the bottom fell out of it, and he doesn't deserve the kind of money that he is asking for.
But you know what Rick said? You know what? I'm the 2-time James Baird winner. I built this brick and mortar. So if I did it once, I can do it again. So you know what? Deal off. And guess what? Another Saudi investor gonna come in there and gonna give me 3 times what you offered.
Really?
Yep.
Well,
so when Dak win the MVP?
Fortunately for my brother, I think he's got like 10 restaurants, so one doesn't matter. But this man has only one restaurant in which he can eat, and it is Jerry's restaurant. Jerry owns the restaurant. He can let Dak be his man in the restaurant.
Now, you can go ahead and pay the man what he wants right now. Now, if he has the season that you believe your Cowboys and everybody's been writing that they're going to have, and you mess around and let that guy win MVP, and you let that guy win Super Bowl MVP, now you're talking about $50 million.
Okay, that's what I believe Jerry is hoping for. Show me, Dak. Go win me a Super Bowl in one of the next 2 years in which you'll be tagged for 31 and 37 million. And if you do, I'll pay you $50 million because then you will be worth it.
Okay, Dak, come on, get that money, Dak.
Because to get to a Super Bowl, he's going to have to win at least 2 more playoff games. So far, he's won 1 and lost 2.
Well, he right there behind Tony Romo because Tony Romo got like 15 playoff wins.
Guys are on fire today. Jeez.
No mercy.
The Cam Newton watch is finally over. The former MVP and #1 overall pick has agreed to a 1-year contract with the Patriots that is low risk and high reward for New England. Cam reportedly passed his physical and is cleared to play after recovering from foot and shoulder injuries. The veteran quarterback is also reportedly, quote, hungrier than ever. And according to Fox Bet, the Patriots now have the 7th best odds to win the Super Bowl at 19-1. So, Skip, how much better does Cam make the Patriots?
I thought, Mr. Sharp, this was a very good move by Bill Belichick. I'm still wondering what took him so long. He just gave Tom Brady a 4-month head start getting to know his Buccaneer teammates, new teammates, as opposed to Cam getting thrown into a fire in which he will be compared to nobody but Tom Brady from the first snap that he takes in Foxborough or with the New England jersey on. And yet, as good a move as this is, I do not think it makes them a good team. So I'll give you what Jenny just said about the Super Bowl odds. They were like 25-1 and they're down to 19-1. Give you that. But I say I was looking at a 4-12 New England roster. I was looking at a roster that just yesterday Pro Football Focus ranked 19th in the league, 18th in the league. So that's below average. And I was looking at 4-12, so I'm going to give you 5-win ceiling for Cam Newton. I'm going to say he could add, if he starts every game and he is healthy, and those are ifs right now. I don't know if they're big ifs, but if he can play every game, I'm looking at a ceiling of 9-7 for the Patriots. Could that make the playoffs? It could. You could eke in the back door of the playoffs, but I still don't think they're better than Buffalo. I don't think they're going to win that division over Buffalo. I think Buffalo's a 10-win team. And I think that New England, even with Cam, will have some problems with the Jets. And they might even have some problems with the Dolphins. So to me, they lost so much on defense. When you look at the front seven losing Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins and Danny Shelton and Landon Roberts, it's too many cogs lost, where I don't know how you're going to replace them on the fly. And I remind you, that defense last year, the last 8 games, it fell off the cliff. The receiving core didn't get much of any better, and it was dead last in the league last year in separation. Cam's going to look around after 4 games and say, Brady got them to the playoffs last year with this bunch? They still don't have a tight end. There's obviously no Greg Olsen.
And Cam will say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with less.
Really?
Yeah, with all them defensive guys that you mentioned that left, Cam's going to get that team to the playoffs.
Okay. So we have a little bet on this.
We do.
Have 5 cases of Diet Mountain Dew. Put your dew where your mouth is.
Feel better.
Let's double that bet right now. Our bet is that Tom Brady's team will win more games than Bill Belichick's team. Well, now you don't have Jared Stidham at quarterback because I had you way over the barrel full of Diet Dew, right? But now I think I still have you over the barrel because I'll take Tom's roster over Belichick's roster.
Well, but I think, Skip, had Cam been there since March, this would be a no-brainer for me. I would easily give you that. But I agree with you. I think Cam makes them, I would say, 6 games better. So I got them, they're going to win double-digit. Now, yep. Which would be more than what your team wins. So, Skip, I think there's nothing more dangerous in sports than a motivated athlete. And Cam is highly motivated because you remember, he said they gave up on me. Cam is going to be out to show that he's the Cam of old, not an old Cam. And so, Skip, the thing is with Cam Newton has never been a QBR darling. For the simple fact, he was 9th in QBR the year he won the MVP. Yep. Cam doesn't have the best footwork mechanic.
Very good point. I agree.
But
he does make plays.
He make plays. He can still run the football. He tried to get away from that, but he's taken a lot of punishment over his first 9 years in the NFL, Skip. So for me, what remnants of the offense that we've seen over the last 20 years will they run Cam? Are they going to take some of the things that he did very well in Carolina and try and implement some of that? Because that's what the Bucs are going to do for Tom Brady. It's not going to be all New England stuff. It's not going to be all Tampa stuff. But it's going to be some of the things that he ran that he did very, very well in New England, and he's going to bring that down to Tampa. So that's what you do, Skip. So you implement what do you like? What do you do really well? Let's see, can we formulate some of that into our offense? And I believe that's what Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, will do. But I think the thing that's going to really, really help Cam is that he has a guy with the mind, the defensive mind that Coach Belichick has. That's what helped Tom Brady, because he's going to be able to tell him, this is what they're thinking in this down and distance. This is what they're thinking in this area of the field. Because like him or not, Coach Belichick is still, Skip, he's one of the great defensive minds in NFL history.
I'll give you that.
So that's going to help that's going to help Cam Newton immensely. For me, Skip, I still believe that Cam is the more talented of the 2 guys. Stidham just has the head start, and I've been around.
I hope he's more talented than Jared Stidham. I can't even believe you brought that up. We're talking about an MVP versus a fourth-round pick who really struggled in his last year at Auburn.
But I've seen
By the way, they're both from Auburn.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But Skip, I've seen guys that have been less talented that keep the guys with the more talent on the field because of the offense, because of the defense. Because Skip, if your talent can only showcase itself if you play fast. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to run the wrong route in a hurry. So if a guy's out there guessing, and am I lined up right? Am I at the right depth? Should I release inside or outside? If you got to worry about all that, Skip, you can't play fast. Mm-hmm. So Cam is, like you realize, Cam is in a new system for the first time in 9 years. And so now he's going to have to learn new verbiage. Everybody pretty much, Skip, runs the same plays. They just call them different things. So that's what Cam's going to have to retrain his mind to, like, so that's what that is, and try to put 2 and 2 together. But I like old Cam Newton in New England. Feel like I get my 5Ks of due when they have a better record than you guys.
Really?
Yep.
Very interesting, because I'm wondering how Cam Newton is going to coexist with a Bill Belichick who still has a whole lot of Napoleon in him, a lot of dictator, a lot of tyrant, a lot of verbal abuse for the quarterback, because Tom Brady swallowed that verbal abuse and just shrugged it off in the locker room. He told everybody, calm down, it's just the way he is, just accept it. So he allowed Belichick to ream him in front of the team in film sessions, to ream him in front of the team in practices, stop practices. Brady, what are you doing?
Yeah, what were you doing?
What were you thinking? Well, I was thinking I'm the GOAT, Coach. How about the GOAT? That's what I was thinking, and I'm wondering who you are. You played college football. Oh, wait, you didn't really play college football. You played lacrosse at Wesleyan.
But this is what Coach Belichick. See, Cam has already started at an advantage. Coach Belichick like him. Yeah. They probably gonna be out going to lunch.
You think
probably,
so?
Yeah, probably go grab a bite to eat or something like that.
I will bet you 100 cases a diet. Do they never go out to lunch one time? You think so?
Yeah.
No, unless he's really mellowed. Unless he's really desperate enough to say, I got to make friends with this quarterback.
And Coach Belichick said the other guy was holding me back.
Really?
I couldn't be my true self.
Really? Yep. So we got to 9 Super Bowls in 20 years, but he was holding me back.
He probably said if I had Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning, I'd have got to 11-12.
Yeah.
That would he probably say to himself.
Well, I'm going to give you this. If Cam can play every game the way he played the 2 previous games versus Belichick, you got you something. You got you a 2015 all over again, because in 2013 on Monday Night Football at Carolina, he beat Tom Brady head-to-head with a QBR of 91, threw 3 touchdowns to no interceptions, outdueled him, and did it again in Foxborough.
Hold up. Was that the one that Tom, at the end of the game, ran up to the referee and cried, but he got beat? Was that the game?
Because Gronk got tackled in the end zone. It was a robbery.
No, it wasn't no robbery. It was nothing.
Monday Night Robbery in Carolina. It was. You can go look up the tapes. I called it the next day.
He go running down the field.
The other show that I was on.
Coach Belichick told him. Coach Belichick said, don't you never embarrass me like that again. That's not what we do. We play for 4 quarters. We win. Or if we lose, we come on into the locker room. You go in and showing me up.
I remember a game Belichick lost on Sunday night in Baltimore, I believe it was. Maybe it was even Monday. I think it was Sunday. Remember, he ran off the field yelling at the referee because it looked like the field goal was good.
Right.
And the ref said, no good. And he said, well, it went right over the top of the crossbar.
No, it didn't. Get out of our face, Bill.
Really? Get out of our face. Well, so he did it then. But if Cam plays the way he did in 2017 at Foxborough, in which he went 23 of 29 for 316 yards. That's a Tim Tebow game, 316.
Oh, my
Remember
goodness.
that? Reminds me of Tebow in a playoff game.
Hold up. They got baseball coming back. Is he on the 60-man roster?
He might be.
He might not
be. Well, we don't know yet. He well might, because he's been bulking up during the quarantine.
Okay. What, he go to WWE?
He's like DeChambeau in golf, right?
But it's still, to say this, you remember when Tom Brady missed those first 4 games, they let the quarterback run a lot more with Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett than they ever did with Tom Brady. So you might see a little bit more quarterback boots and things of that nature.
Okay, but he's coming off surgery on shoulder, surgery on foot. You think he can hold up?
Yep.
He just turned 31 years of age.
Wait, hold on. You worried about him holding up? What about that 44-year-old?
The 43.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, 44.
43-year-old who has not been touched for a couple of years. I don't know. He gets rid of the ball so fast.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. You want to go 10 cases on this?
Nope.
Brady over Cam?
No.
I'll go 10 cases.
I'm five right now.
Good.
Have you guys seen Cam posting all the workout videos? He looks really ready.
Yeah,
Let me
Cam
just say, he's been posting, and
So has Brady.
He has. All right, fair enough. And somehow Tebow got brought into the conversation as well, working out. Former Celtics center Ryan Hollins recently said that Paul Pierce and his Celtics team viewed LeBron as soft during the 2012 playoffs. He said that they didn't think LeBron would show up in the fourth quarter and that he wasn't the real deal when things got tight. So, Shannon, is there any truth to this? What do you got?
No, there's no truth to this. And I think they use what the Celtics used was the 2011 Maverick series to try to diminish anything LeBron had ever done or anything that he might accomplish after that, Skip. Now, I remind you that they do realize that Paul Pierce realized they put the big three together to stop LeBron. Because once LeBron went through the bad boy 2 Pistons, it was over. Because remember, Paul Pierce never got to the Eastern Conference Final until they got Kevin Garnett, who was a former MVP, until they got Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Paul Pierce, the truth had been a lie up until then. Now, all of a sudden, now remember in 2011, Skip, the Heat mopped the floor with the Celtics, beat them 4-1. LeBron James scored double figures in 3 of the fourth quarters. 3 with Paul Pierce guarding it. So up until he got the big 3, till he got KG and Ray Allen, Paul Pierce had been a lie. The name was a farce. Now all of a sudden he used something. Now remind you, Skip, also the year that they beat him. Now in 2008, Game 7, LeBron went for 45, had 13 in the fourth quarter. In 2010, when they had the big 3 Pistons, everybody talking about LeBron. This is the game that Dan Gilbert said LeBron choked in, and he just got. LeBron James, in Game 10, the last game in Cleveland, had 27 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, and had 10 points in the fourth quarter. Does that look like a guy that quit? Well, hell, if he quit with those kind of numbers, man, I'd hate to see what he'd have done. That'd have been a will game. So he might have had, what, 54, 38, and 20. Stop this notion, Skip. Get that man his props. Paul Pierce, until he got Kevin Garnett, Skip, ain't nobody talk. Ain't nobody even mentioned the Celtics. Ain't nobody mentioned Paul Pierce. He get KG. KG, if I'm not mistaken, his first year there, KG was Defensive Player of the Year. And then you team Ray Allen, who's arguably one of the greatest. He's got to be, Skip, one of the 3 greatest shooters of all time. Whether you got Steph and Clay and Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, however you want to rank it. Ray Allen's in that conversation.
Okay.
And then you're going to take one game, you're going to take a series against the Mavericks to try to whitewash and just diminish everything the man has accomplished. Man, y'all need to stop this. But he showed you. What happened, Skip, in 2012? The man that they thought would quit. Paul Pierce was talking that noise. You remember, don't you, Skip?
Do I?
Game 5. It's over. We ain't coming back here. We not coming back. And what did LeBron do to him? Talking about he wanted him. 45, 15, and 5
Great
on his head. And so you know a good measure Game 7. Because you know he got the highest scoring average in NBA history in Game 7s. What did he do to the truth? Made him a lie again.
Interesting.
And hadn't beat him since.
So let's reiterate what Ryan Hollins said. He was talking about the years 2007, 8, 9, 10, and 11. That's what the Celtics viewed LeBron as soft. And he said, we thought he wouldn't show up in the fourth quarter. We thought he wasn't the real dude when things got tight, said Ryan Hollins, who did play with LeBron James in 2010 in Cleveland. So he saw the collapse in the series in question, the last series in his first go-around in Cleveland. Ryan Hollins sat on the bench for the most part and saw it from the inside out. Then he heard it from the Celtics' point of view when he joined them in 2012. Okay, so what he's saying is exactly what I kept saying all through this, that LeBron was wildly, all-time great, talented, but I didn't see the mentally toughest real dude in fourth quarters consistently. So again, let's look at that series, that last series in the first go-round, but right before the decision, which came 2 months after this.
Correct.
LeBron in Game 3 at the Boston Garden played one of the greatest games of his career. It was a Friday night. I sat watching it with Ernestine. He absolutely destroyed Paul Pierce and the Celtics in their house. It was devastation from the first minute to the last minute. And all of a sudden, here we go again. They're up 2-1. Well, we kept seeing this repeated because they had been neck and neck with Orlando the previous year, and they lost games 4, 5, and 6. Well, here they went again, and they lost games 4, 5, and 6. And it got so bad for LeBron, despite the numbers you just read, go look this up, his inner circle dropped hints to the media, which got reported on ESPN. You can look it up, that LeBron had to be sedated before games 4, 5, and 6. So he did that under sedation because he was having a problem with a teammate in the locker room, an internal issue that required sedation before those games. This got reported. Look it up. And when I heard that, I needed to be sedated because I'm saying, stop it. I have heard enough. He just didn't measure up. He didn't live up. I get those numbers, but if you watch that game carefully as I did, they were never in that game, and they got taken out of it so quickly that his inner circle believed he needed a valid excuse. He got sedated before these games, and a lot of people bought it. And that's why his value remained high going into the decision period, the free agent period, even though he had lost 4, 5, and 6 against Orlando, 4, 5, and 6 against Boston, and going back to 2007, he'd lost games 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the finals against the Spurs, that a lot of people around the league that I knew were saying, he's just not that guy. That's not what he does the best. He doesn't have the toughest mind under pressure to be able to close the deal, so he needed to go learn how to win games from his close friend, D. Wade.
Is that what Paul Pierce had to do when they brought in KG and Ray Allen? So what was Paul Pierce doing in Boston prior to Kevin Garnett? Because he had to be there for at least a decade. And how many Eastern Conference Finals, how many NBA Finals had he made?
Okay, but nobody ever said Paul Pierce is the best player in basketball.
We are. You talk about said means past tense. Saying, they still saying it. Skip, you talking about, hold on, this was 2010. We 2020, and he's still the best.
Okay, here's my takeaway, and this is what I tried to tell you all during The Last Dance on ESPN. All I kept saying was, hey, you're disqualified. He had too many epic fails because he came right out of the decision and he goes to the Heat, and what happens? Right on schedule in the NBA Finals versus Dallas, games 4, 5, and 6, no. Smaller, played LeBron James. It was the all-time superstar meltdown in the history of NBA Finals. You can't take it away. You can't wipe the slate clean. So we had Dallas, then before that we had Boston, and before that we had Orlando. That's not goatish. You're disqualified.
The man against Orlando averaged 35, 9, and like 7.
If you're that guy against that team, it's Dwight and a bunch of three-point shooters. That's all you got. Are you better than Dwight? Are you more valuable than? Yes, you're better than Dwight.
Dwight Howard with 3 consecutive times, Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year.
He was surrounded, Skip, you know what he was surrounded by. Those marksmen could not miss.
Okay, but LeBron could miss, and LeBron was not very good in games 4, 5, and 6.
Skip, they what, Skip?
If you're that dude, you close that deal. You just do. Especially after you hit the shot heard round the world to win game 2.
And guess what? We came back and we won game 4. Remember? We won. They beat us 4-2, but that's okay. But I'm talking about this. Ryan Hollins said we thought he'd show up for the fourth quarter. We thought he was a real dude when things got tight. He wouldn't be able to go out and make plays. And if Paul Pierce could stay out of foul trouble, Paul would never be LeBron. And then we showed you. We showed you. Guess what we did, Skip? We beat the brakes off him in Boston. We sent him to New Jersey. Beat the brakes off him. And then he just bounced around. He went from, where'd he go, Skip? You remember he went to Washington and went to Clippers. Went all over. He went everywhere so he wouldn't have to see us. But you know what he did do? He got up out the East. He got up out the East.
This isn't about Paul Pierce. It's about LeBron James.
Where'd he go?
Okay. Did any rival of Michael Jordan's, even in his early years when Boston was just beating his little butt, did anybody ever say he's soft and he gives up in the fourth quarter? Did any owner ever say of Michael Jordan, he quit on us?
Isaiah said we tore his tail up. Isaiah said he wasn't my peer.
Really?
Isaiah said Larry Bird and Magic Johnson was my guys. I tore his tail up.
Did they ever say that Michael was soft?
Say what you want. Skip, I don't care what they say.
Lord have mercy.
Skip, I used to do that all the time. You know, my girl used to tell my grandma, my brother called me name. She said, boy, it ain't what he called you. He said, what you answer to? I don't care what you call me, but what do I answer to? So you call him soft. But we got these rings and things and about to get another one. So when we win the title this year, Skip, that'll be number 4.
You got 3 rings in 9 tries. You are the opposite of Tom Brady. You're the un-Tom Brady.
This ain't got to do with Tom.
He's got 6 and 9. You got 3 and 9.
No, we're about to have 4.
You were disqualified from the GOAT debate. You're out of it.
No.
Because of Orlando and Boston and Dallas.
I got one thing to say. So, was it true that LeBron James was going to melt down in the 4th quarter and Paul Pierce was going to take the game over? Was it true? So he could have kept that, because that was a lie. My guy in game 12 in 2012 did a number on him.
Was it true that LeBron James had to be sedated before games 4, 5, and 6?
Skip, that was,
what?
Skip, I don't know.
You're disqualified.
Skip, I don't know.
Never again do I want to hear you're the GOAT. Goats don't need sedation before games.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Sedated?
What about a guy that took a year and a half off because the media scrutiny was too much for him? What about that? So you disqualified if you can't handle the media asking you a few questions about gambling habits and then what you pay. Hold on, wait a minute.
That was a forced sabbatical. Forced.
Whoa, I don't know about forced. Hold on. You mean that was before social media. And he did that back then. That was before 24-hour news cycle. And he did that back then.
And guess what? He came back and won 3 in a row more to get to 6-0 in the finals.
All I know is everywhere my guy go, titles follow.
Really?
We about to get another one.
L's follow.
We went to Miami, titles follow. We're back to Cleveland, titles follow.
All right, it feels good to be back with you guys. MJ LeBron at its finest. No mercy. Well, the Cowboys are reportedly one of Jadeveon Clowney's preferred teams to sign with. The 3-time Pro Bowler has been looking for a contender to sign with all offseason. So, Shannon, can you see this happening?
I could, Skip, because they're going to run a 3-4. Remember, the bulk of his career was spent in Houston. He played in the 3-4 defense, so he could play the stand-up linebacker, or he can play the 5 technique. And the Cowboys only have about $11 million in space, but so much for Jadeveon Clowney resetting the market. Skip, he was never going to reset the market with 3 sacks. People don't know this. Jadeveon Clowney has never had a double-digit sack season.
Nope.
Considering that he dealt with injuries the better part of his first career and has never had a double-digit sack season, how do you reset the market? So I think the Cowboys, if they were to sign him, is going to get a phenomenal talent at a bargain price. So, yeah, I think it'd be a great fit because he can play the stand-up position. He wreaks havoc. He doesn't get a lot of sacks, Skip, but he's very disruptive. He puts a lot of hits on the quarterback. He causes a lot of, makes the quarterback throw early, throw off the wrong foot. So, yes, I absolutely believe he would be a great addition. And he would be the guy that could possibly replace Robert Quinn in the production that he gave them last year if they could get him. But if you could get him, Skip, at $11 million, considering that he played on the franchise tag last year at about, $14 to $16 million. So if you can get him at $11 million, that'd be a steal.
I want to reiterate what my partner across the table, a Hall of Famer named Shannon Sharp, just said on national TV. Yes, I can see Jadeveon Clowney being a Dallas Cowboy this year, right here, right now. I'm so happy because when I first read this story earlier last night, is in the evening, it was about 4 o'clock, I thought, please, they don't have any money left. They still haven't even signed Dak. What do we? There's no way. He wanted $20 million to start. The Browns offered him 18. He sniffed at that. The Dolphins offered 17. He sniffed at that. We can't offer that. And then guess what happened? Cam happened. Cam went to New England. And it suddenly dawned on me, Jadeveon Clowney can be the Cam Newton of edge rushers. He can take a 1-year showcase, show the world deal, incentive laden. I don't know. Maybe it'd get him up to 8 or 10 million because that's all.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Y'all got $11 million. I'm gonna need all that.
No, 8 or 10.
No.
You got to keep a little back here, but this is incentives so you can sort of pass them under the hard cap a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, I see him in Philly.
Jerry is the master of
see him
cap
in Philly.
manipulation.
I see him in Philly.
No, I see him in Dallas because everybody wants to wear the star on that helmet.
Nope.
Jamal Adams is campaigning to be a Dallas Cowboy, but Jamal wants his $25 million right here, right now. So he feels like he's proven that he is a premier safety. All of a sudden, Jadeveon is seeing his mortality, his NFL mortality. They don't love me. I still love Jadeveon Clowney as a force of a disruptor off the edge. He is a supremely athletic and can be very physical pass rusher. And to me, I get it that he's fighting double teams, so he doesn't have the sack totals. But every time I watch him, he leaps off my screen where I say, that guy is disrupting that offense.
Skip Bayless, he played alongside J.J. Watt. There's no excuse for him not to have double-digit sacks.
Okay. So are you saying he's overrated? Because I'm not.
No, I'm just saying early in his career, Skip, he dealt with a lot of injuries. And the thing is now...
but to your point, he has played 44 of the last possible 48 games that he could have played in. So I'm not seeing injury-riddled.
No, he moved past that because I think he had the foot injury early in his career. Skip, he had a couple of other
his rookie year, he's gone.
But Skip, I mean, if you can get this guy, if you get him, Skip, on a one-year deal, and you're paying him anything less than what he was asking to reset the market at over $20 million a year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was looking for $22 million a year. Well, Skip, you had 3 sacks. Okay. You were never going to, you're going to need, Skip, if you're going to try to reset the market to go past Khalil Mack, to go past Aaron Donald, you're going to need to have a 18, 20 sack season.
Yeah.
3 is not going to get that.
So I told you, I believe in Alden Smith, but I can't know that. He hadn't played for 5 years.
Oh, you definitely take Jadeveon Clowney over Alden Smith. And the other. And
I like Randy Gregory. But
not
again,
over Jadeveon.
Big X factor. Hey, all of a sudden, DeMarcus Lawrence, the other edge rusher, he's an X factor because he did not live up to the $100 million that Jerry gave him. So you bring in this guy, he might be your number one. Ooh. But that would be 2 high-pick first-rounders that you would have, Alden Smith, obviously, with Clowney, and you'd have 2 second-rounders and Randy Gregory and obviously DeMarcus Lawrence, who was he's the 34th overall pick. So all of a sudden, you would have firepower coming off the edge.
I can see Jadeveon in Philly with Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox.
Trying to wish it away. After you spoke it into existence, you're trying to speak it out, and it will not work.
You know they got a guy named Montez Sweat there, that guy from Mississippi State?
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck. You can have all of them.
You can have it all. All right. Cam Newton has finally found a new home. The former MVP and #1 overall pick has agreed to a 1-year contract with the Patriots that is low risk and high reward for New England. Cam reportedly passed his physical and is cleared to play after recovering from foot and shoulder injuries. The veteran QB is also reportedly, quote, hungrier than ever. We're now joined by Fox Sports contributor Rob Parker. Rob, looking sharp this morning. Rob, are you surprised Cam signed with the Pats?
I love this move. Yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought that Bill Belichick was going to try to do it all himself. But now he goes and he gets a real quarterback who doesn't have a noodle arm and has big upside. So I'm looking forward to this. I would love to see Bill Belichick wearing a scarf, you know, Aunt Jemima scarf like Cam wears to celebrate. Boston has a quarterback. They're not dead. Skip, this is your worst nightmare that Bill Belichick has an able-bodied, able-armed quarterback who could continue to win in New England even without Tom Brady. I love this.
So, Rob, let me ask you this. Are you referring to the noodle-armed Jared Stidham? Is that who you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Cam Newton. You know that.
Oh, but I mean, you're talking about, you mean Tom Brady has a noodle arm.
Of course we're talking about Tom Brady with the noodle arm. You know, do you remember last year in Pittsburgh, that game where he's trying to throw the ball out of bounds? And he threw an interception because he couldn't get the ball? Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That's how bad his arm is. It's still bad.
Yeah. So, Rob, why is it that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl odds are better than the New England Patriots Super Bowl odds?
Because, Skip, just the way the odds were for the Browns a year ago. Do you remember? They went from 1,000,000 to 1 to 14 to 1. After they got OBJ, you remember that? Everybody was saying that they wouldn't be able to be stopped. Look how good they were. Oh, my God, look at all the weapons. Baker Mayfield's going to have a breakout year. Do you remember all that?
Mm-hmm.
Did they make the playoffs, Skip Bayless? Yes or no?
No, they did not. But what I remember last year...
and neither will the Bucs.
Yeah. What I remember last year is that Tom Brady took a mediocre football team with no receivers. They were dead last in separation, according to Pro Football Focus. He took that team all the way to the 2 seed in the AFC, had it wrapped up with a big bow around it until Belichick's defense spit the bit. And they gave up a 75-yard drive in the last 3 minutes of the regular season finale in Foxborough and lost 27-24 and blew the 2 seed thanks to Bill Belichick. That's what Cam Newton can look forward to this year.
Skip, last year that was the worst 8-0 team that we had ever seen in the NFL. They hadn't beaten anybody, and when they played the better teams, Brady struggled. Let's just be honest. We remember the last pass Tom Brady ever threw in New England was a pick 6 in the playoffs. That's what I remember about last year. I don't remember about all this other stuff you're talking about. I love the idea that Cam Newton has a chance to redeem himself, go to Boston. Imagine if he wins this job and they win the division and make the playoffs. And Tom Brady's down there in Tampa Bay.
How can he not win this job?
He should win it.
Should. Well, I'm not surprised, Skip. We have been talking about this, Rob, for the longest, and Skip and I have been saying we thought this was a great opportunity for Cam Newton to be in New England. And plus it gave Bill Belichick, a veteran quarterback, that he knows what he's game planned against Cam Newton. He hadn't had a lot of success against Cam Newton because, if I'm not mistaken, I think Cam has beaten him twice. So this is a great fit for Cam. It gives him an opportunity. Very little risk in this situation. Max value of this contract can be $7 million. So he's probably getting him at $2.5 million. It's funny that Cam Newton and Jameis Winston make less money than Chase Daniels, but we'll talk about that another day on another show. But that's neither here nor there. But I like this pick for Cam Newton because I think a guy is very motivated to prove that he still can play the game at a high level. He goes somewhere that they're going to get back to the fundamentals, and they believe in Cam. Skip, Coach Belichick does not bring anyone in that he does not believe that can help his ball club. And he's got, obviously, a very good, talented quarterback. Cam's healthy. Cam's going to win this job. They're going to go to the playoffs.
Will 9-7 get you to the playoffs? That's what I'm wondering.
With the Bucs, no.
That's the ceiling for Cam Newton in New England. If he can turn a 4-12 team into a 9-7 team, I will be in awe of Cam Newton. Will 9-7 make the playoffs? Maybe, but Buffalo is still the better team in that division.
Well, the Bucs won't be going to the playoffs because that's what your record going to be, 9-7.
9-7?
They're not going to the playoffs. They definitely will not. It'll be 13 years in a row the Bucs do not make it to the playoffs.
Really?
But as far as New England, yes, I'm going there, Skip. I don't believe. I'm going to put the Saints and the Falcons ahead of them, and I'm going to pick the Bucs third. I think everybody with old Gronk and old Tom Brady, who's going to be 43, everybody's all excited. I've seen this movie before, and he's not as good as Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I've seen this movie 9 times before, and I saw 6 Super Bowls that should have been 8 Super Bowl victories in 9. That's 9 out of 20 years in New England.
Well, we didn't expect Seattle and Atlanta to edit their own version of this film. That's what happened. Had them beat. Yes, you know it.
And don't forget Carolina kicked the ball out of bounds. Don't forget the tuck rule. Shannon, we could go on and on and on. Tom Brady should have one legit Super Bowl. That's all he should have.
One legit
as we look
Super
at
Bowl?
Yes, one legit. All the other ones are bad. And here's the other thing about Cam. I don't know why people act. This guy's been banged up and hurt. And that's a big part of why he hasn't been productive or been good. He's healthy now. Let's see the guy go back out. He's not an old man. People act like Cam Newton is garbage, hot garbage at that. He can play when he's healthy. I love the idea of him in New England, and he'll beat up on the teams in the AFC least, and he'll have the same opportunity that Tom Brady's had over the years where he is able to get to the playoffs and have an easy road come postseason time.
You know, most people believe that the strength of schedule that New England drew might just be the toughest in football this year. We never know until you see how teams actually start to take shape during the next season. But I think it's going to be very difficult for them to win 9 games. It will take at least 9 to get to the playoffs. So, Rob, I can't remember if we already bet on this, but I will bet you 5 dinners that the New England Patriots do not make the playoffs and that the Buccaneers do make the playoffs. You want that?
All right, we're on. I'm on for that.
Okay.
5 dinner.
Well, Skip, you do know we got an extra playoff spot this year, right? So that's why we're gonna fall in that extra one.
You will need it, and you won't get it. And, Rob, just so you know, my man across the table and I have 5 cases of Diet Mountain Dew bet on the fact that Tom Brady will have a better record this year than Bill Belichick. And I love that bet. I tried to get Shannon to double down earlier in the show and do 10 cases, but he is so far refusing to do this with the excuse that, well, Tom Brady's got a 4-month head start on campus.
And he's breaking rules about social distancing and wearing a mask.
Do it, Tom.
First of all,
do it.
Even in April, he was throwing in the park, which he shouldn't have been in.
Good.
He went to the man's house with no mask on, which he shouldn't have been in.
No
and now
problem.
now he's throwing at a stadium with his teammates, putting them at risk.
All you need to do, Tom knows this, just wash your hands after you pitch and catch the football. Just don't touch your face after you catch the sweaty football.
So every time he throws a pass, he's running over to the sideline, washing his hands, and getting ready to throw the ball again. Everybody
should. Are they having high collision sweat exchange? No, they're not. Are they running into each other in these sessions? They are not.
Oh, my goodness.
It's just fine what they are doing. It is very safe because Tom Brady is a very safe, conservative operator on the football field, as you know.
No, he's not.
And Shannon, you know what? His receivers don't have to worry about it because the ball will be going the other way with the defenders, so he doesn't have to worry about it.
You know,
Skip,
it's funny.
I don't know why you're so caught up on this Tom Brady to Tampa. The man is going to be 43 years old.
43.
On a team 43 that hasn't made the playoffs in 12 years. And all of a sudden, you think this is some magical elixir. You will be disappointed.
Pro Football Focus ranks the Buccaneers roster as the 5th best in the NFL right now, and I'm going to take that to my Diet Dew bank.
Well, I know the TB12 elixir is called Geritol. That's what he did. Hey, Rob, you remember Geritol? I think they still make it.
Rob lives on it.
Okay, enough now, guys. Rob, thank you. Yes, you are young. Looking good today. The noodle arm reference was my favorite. Good stuff, guys. So the Patriots were fined $1.1 million and docked a 3rd-round draft pick next year for their production crew filming the sideline during a Bengals-Browns game last December. The team's production crew will also not be allowed to shoot any games during the 2020 season. So, Shannon, did the punishment fit the crime?
No, it should have been harsher, especially with their past, Skip. In the criminal justice system, Skip, when they sentence an offender, it's based on points. Does he have a history? What are the New England Patriots' history when it comes to situations like this? So given their history, Spygate should have been, Skip, that should have been the last thing. It baffles my mind when I see corporations, they get penalized for something and they do something again. Why would you put yourself back in harm's way? Now, the Patriots said this was an innocent mistake. The NFL didn't believe it was an innocent mistake. And hence the $1.1 million fine, the 3rd-round draft pick, and you lose the TV rights. Your TV crew can't go film during the game. And you got to go get you would think Coach Belichick knows every rule, frontwards and backwards. But now he don't know anything about this. Stop it.
Okay, I will give you, this is a reputation penalty. They got punished because of what they have done and done and done again.
Yes.
It goes all the way back to the first 2 Super Bowls when they were accused by both teams, Rams, Panthers, of taping Saturday walkthroughs ahead of Super Bowls.
Yes.
And yet, just in and of itself, the punishment does not fit the crime because it's still laughable to me that Bill Belichick would send a film crew, get press credentials for the press box, and shoot B-roll right over the shoulder of the scout that they were doing a do-your-job story on from high above the field, and that would qualify as a penalty because Belichick doesn't want that footage. He's got a scout at the game anyway.
Right.
The scout can just sit there with binoculars and get a better view of the field if you're trying to steal signals.
So why are you shooting Cincinnati sideline? Why not get the Patriots sideline?
Okay, you're just shooting the game. You're just shooting B-roll of the game just to show the view from above.
No.
From the top row of the press box where the scout.
It wasn't on the field. It was on the sideline.
Okay.
They don't play on the sidelines. I mean, that big old field out there and you shooting the sidelines. No, shoot the field.
Okay, but it's the point of view of the scout from New England who's sitting in the top row looking down with his binoculars at the game.
Well, he better film it through his eyes because you can't do it with a camera over his shoulder looking at the sidelines.
Okay, but if you want to really get video, you'd buy a seat and have a guy down there with a little handheld camera shooting the hand signals on the sidelines and steal them.
You have to make it plausible.
Oh.
And this is a situation, all we're trying to do is just like let you see what he sees.
Those Patriots. All right, that is it for Undisputed. Good stuff, guys. Good to be back with you all. We're back same time tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Have a good day, guys.